We are recording. We're live, ready to go.
We'll call the meeting to order at 4 p.m. and move to the roll call. Supervisor Brewer.
Will not be here this afternoon.
Okay. I'm here. Vice Chair Rachel Elzinga.
Present.
Kelvin Jones.
Calvin will not be here today.
Okay. Peggy Von Payne.
Here.
Tony McGalvey.
Here.
William DuBois.
Here.
Keith Wright.
Here.
Donald Lovell.
Here.
Thank you for attending. I think the agenda was sent to everybody. Have you had a chance to look at it? And anybody have any discussion or suggestion for changes? Or would you like to propose we use it as is?
I support as is.
Yeah, we're good.
Rachel and Tony? Public comments? I'm not sure everybody here. So anybody here for public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
So there's two sets of minutes in your packet, one from the regular meeting on June 9th and the special meeting on June 23.
I move to support the minutes of June 9th. Do we have to do them separate or can we do them together?
I'm fine with doing them together.
Me too.
Okay.
So moved by Peggy, anybody agree or have questions or discussion?
Move support.
Support. Okay, Rachel supports. Minutes are, for both are approved. That gets us to old business. Do you want to tee that up, the West Saginaw? I mean, I think MDOT has got some replies for us, right?
Yep, I'll tee it up for us. So thanks everybody for being here today. We have the MDOT team, they're back again, getting to know this group very well. I appreciate their cooperation and being here with us so often. So since the last time we rapped about this topic, the public meeting, the open house was held in this room on June 17th. At the last meeting on the 23rd, which was dedicated solely to the MDOT discussion, unlike every other meeting for the last 5 months. The topics, there were a handful of questions that came up. The MDOT responded to those questions. That is in your meeting packet, those responses. I actually also printed a copy just so you had it right in front of your heads there. There are also a couple different documents. I did not print them out, that were responses that were gathered and categorized by the MDOT team from that June 17th meeting. I think I mentioned in the first email I sent around there, it's kind of hard to navigate, so you really need a digital screen to look at it. Printing, it's not going to do any justice. So if you haven't already taken a look at that, if you guys wouldn't mind running through both the responses to the questions and then some of that feedback that was gathered from that meeting on the 17th.
Do you have electronic copy of that?
I do. It's in our
Okay.
packet. I'll pull it up. We can kind of zoom around if we need to.
Okay.
So there's that. Jason from WSP is here on behalf of the MDOT team to show you a revised drawing. So a little bit has changed in the project since the last time you talked about it. So there's some new alternatives for consideration. So he's going to walk you through all that as well.
Were the changes because of engineering, or was it out of feedback that we got, or?
Both.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you guys jump in and tell me, yeah, so I'll summarize. You want me to pull it up real quick,
Yeah,
Peter?
please.
So we'll provide you a quick update here of everything that happened so far. So we had a LAG meeting last week on the 5th. So we'll show what we presented at the LAG meeting here. Let me start my slideshow. As I mentioned, last Tuesday, we had a meeting with the LAG. And for that meeting, really we wanted to provide a project update and kind of, what's happened since our previous LAG meeting. And obviously, since we've had our last CIA meeting, the big information out of that was the public information meeting. And then kind of what came out of that public information meeting and some of our ongoing studies is the updated alternatives. So I'll jump to this one real quick again. Our previous LAG meeting was in April. Then we met with you folks on May 12th, and then we went to the public meeting on June 17th. So as part of the public meeting, I don't know if anyone was able to attend, but it was an open house format with 2 presentations. So this is this kind of little slide here. This is what we talked about during the PowerPoint presentation. And then at the same time, we had boards around this room, over in that room, depicting purpose and need of the project history, next steps, alternatives under consideration, and the traffic operations. It's kind of a all comprehensive presentation of what we've done to date and where we're at, and then gathering that public input. And it's part of the presentation or the open house. We had forms for the public to fill out, any comments they may have had. We had big plot layouts, 6-foot layouts of the alternatives with sticky notes where folks were able to go right on the pictures and put their comments specifically to specific locations, fill out sticky notes. So overall, it was a great turnout. We'll provide a quick summary of that. So at the public meeting, said we had over 100 people attend. It was a great turnout. It was ran from 4 to 6, if I recall correctly. So it was a presentation about 4:15, another one about 5:45. And as part of that, we had over 40 comment forms filled out, and some of those comment forms had 5 or 6 comments. So it was a great turnout, and a lot of credit to the township. They sent direct mailers, and we'll see, we'll get a summary after this slide showing how a lot of the folks found out about the meeting. So the township did a great job. MDOT did a great job, put it on their website. So to be honest, I've been doing this for 20 years. It was one of the best turnouts I've seen at a public meeting. So it was awesome. Overall, the public realizes there's an issue. So, they know there's congestion problems. They know there's congestion issues. What we didn't find, there's really no consensus over which alternative they preferred, basically the J turn versus the indirect lefts. There was some folks wanted the J turn, some wanted the indirect left. There was no overwhelming support for one alternative or the other is what we found out based on those comments. Some of the other things we found out is one of the big issues, and I think CIA's brought this up as well in some of your comments and questions, is there was some concern about under the J turn alternative, the lack of access north-south on broadband. How can we get across M43 if there's a J turn there? That did come out as part of the public comments, that concern as well. And if you recall, as part of both alternatives, there was a west of broadband, there was a median turnaround. So, because trucks can no longer make direct lefts out of the northern development. So trucks had to go west of broadband and use that turnaround in the median to go back from westbound to eastbound. There's that residential neighborhood there, and there's a lot of folks there that were concerned with sounds of semis and vehicles using that turnaround. As they're getting that meter out and it's accelerating out of there, it's going to have noise impacts to the residential neighborhood. So we heard that as well also. And it's a little more detailed summary. I have to read off my screen here, but like I said, there was a lot of folks that heard about it from the mail flyer that went out from the township. There was a question there too. We had a questionnaire is, did they think there was a need for a crossover east of Marketplace, a pedestrian cross north and south of Broadbent? So, 19 folks said yes, 12 said no. So again, it's no overwhelming support one way or the other. So again, that graph there kind of shows you the overwhelming people found out about through the mailed letter, social media, township website. So I think, the project team, the township did a great job of getting this notice out that we're having a public meeting, and that was evident by the number of folks that attended. As you can see here, most of the folks that are area residents, not surprising. Let's see what else. Motor transportation. This is one thing, it's not surprising, but it kind of shows you based on the comments is most folks, again, were concerned about traffic safety, vehicular crashes, and congestion. As I can see in this question 4 is most folks use this corridor via automobile. So that's not surprising either. And 30 of the folks that did fill out the questionnaire, they use this corridor daily. So I guess, it's kind of what we expected. It's folks traveling to and from the corridor for work, to work, or using the commercial development. So that was to be expected. And it kind of reflects in the comments we received. So based on the public engagement, based on the questions received from the CIA, and then also as part of the ongoing studies, we had to do cost estimates for these alternatives. Back when the original operational template was completed, when MDOT applied for the funding, the original project was funded at approximately $14 million. So based on the ongoing work, we did complete cost estimates for alternative 2, which would be the indirect left, and alternative 2, which was the J turn. And you can see here is the current cost estimates are obviously about $6 million higher than the funding. So that raises another problem is, based on current cost estimates, construction costs, inflation, all that, it's now to build the full alternative is $20 million compared to the $14 million that were originally funded. So the next question became well, how do we address that? So we'll show that here in a sec. So based on the public input, township input, CIA, and working through the projects, part of the project team, there was 2 updated alternatives. And the first was, and this was, well, I think as part of the comments we received from the CIAs, that was one of the questions, comments, can we mix and match the alternatives? You know, can we have indirect left at Marketplace with a J-turn at Broadbent? So that's how this alternative we're calling 2A came about. What would it look like if we mixed and matched these alternatives? And this, again, I think this reflected as part of that desire for north-south access across Marketplace. So again, this came directly out of the CIA comments to see this alternative, and this is what it looked like. Again, basically, you're just chopping the alternatives in half and putting them back together, and you have the J-turn at Marketplace, the indirect at Broadbent, and they don't differ from the original concepts whatsoever. Same laneage, same turning movement, same crossovers, so nothing's different. So they're just combined into one alternative now. That's one thing we try to explain at some of the public meetings, is that just because we have alternative one that's indirect lefts at both, or alternative two, it's a J-turn at both, they can be mixed and matched, but sometimes that's hard for the public to envision. So this was very helpful to have this, I think, having this drawing finally and showing you guys this new mix and match alternative. And then the new alternative, again, this was based on the funding issue we showed on the couple slides prior, and also from some of the public comments. And remember, so here's where that residential neighborhood to the west of Broadbent on the north side of the road. So that original turnaround in the meeting was right about in this area. So the folks here were concerned about trucks using the noise, but they're also concerned about accessing their homes in and out of the neighborhood. So if there's a boulevard there. So we kind of got together, looked at the funding, and basically the question is we have $14 million. What can we build from Marketplace east and west for that $14 million? So based on that new analysis, new cost estimate, this is the alternative that has been developed, is a J-turn at Marketplace. So it extends from the I-69 bridge west to just beyond Broadbent. More than likely, there's still some design issues that haven't been worked out that won't get till the final design, is where the truck turnaround here, that's going to need some adjustment, because right as shown now, it impacts some parking there in front of the gas station. So one option is to shift the road further north to get that turnaround off that property, but been shifting it north, you would need to carry the proposed improvements kind of just west to tie in just west of Broadbent alternative. And then as part of our ongoing meetings, one thing we did kind of realize is if this opportunity does provide an opportunity to look at future traffic. So right now, traffic projections are our best guess. It's based on methodologies, what was provided in the Delta Crossing traffic impact study. So one thing about traffic projections, they're never 100% correct. So under this alternative, what this would allow, one of the benefits of it is, once the northern portion of the Delta Crossings develops and other development occurs throughout the corridor, is if this alternative was moved forward, MDOT would be able to take another look at the Broadbent intersection. We have all this development now. We have the access road potentially built to Broadbent. What happened? So now you can go back, do new traffic counts, look what's going on there instead of guessing. When that's all developed, whatever, say 5 to 10 years, we have these final traffic volumes. We know what's going on out there, what the issues are, so you can better address that issue. So it does provide an opportunity to reassess the situation of what truly happens with the development and the future traffic volumes. So that was kind of this new third alternative. And I think, speaking of term, I think this is the alternative MDOT is probably going to move forward with as of now. So that's kind of just a quick summary of what happened since last CIA at the public meeting. Yeah.
What's the financial difference? I mean, is that 14 million or does it come in under budget?
It's actually probably slightly over at the moment. Yeah. 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 So again, that's some of the finer design details that'll be hashed out during design, but yeah, I think it came in at 15-ish, something like that, 4.6. I don't remember off the top of my head specifically, but it was slightly over $14 million.
And that's if you build it like tomorrow morning.
I think we did put 2029 costs on there. So, but again, yeah, you're guessing at the inflation, guessing at cost. So yeah, that is again, trying to predict what happens when this gets built in 2029. So yes, that's another issue that could happen.
Silly question, I think, but just to make sure I don't not ask it, I assume almost all the products other than indirect prices are domestic. You're not impacted by tariffs or anything like that. Wouldn't think. obviously, if it
So-
drives the market up and prices go up just for that, then, but nothing directly tied to.
Yeah, right.
Buy America steel products.
Yeah.
Based on everything.
Fair enough.
You directly.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Get it, you know. Every food distributor in the country is raising prices,
Right.
blaming it on something, so, and some of it's legitimate, some of it's just the market will bear it now, cause. You know, international product costs more.
Right. And I can, do you guys want me to zoom in on this figure? I can,
If you don't mind.
I can get on here.
Well, thank
It'll
you.
be a little clunky, but give me one sec.
So did you say that with this plan, there might be a possible future MDOT project for the broadband?
Let's use it.
So I'll speak to that. So it would be something that we would obviously be able, this is funding that was statewide competitive, right? So we had to submit it, we had to prove that it was gonna have the certain benefits. And then they score it against other statewide projects. So ultimately, yes, as that develops, if the traffic becomes such, we'll probably be submitting for other operations projects. It wouldn't be guaranteed funding, but we would definitely get into putting the same kind of effort that we just did for this section. Then our Peter asked, like, how soon could you do that? Like, if this all of a sudden gets built next year, we can start applying for money. So I'm not saying it's usually 5 to 10 years because they're usually programming money
Right.
5 years out. So it wouldn't be like, oh, well, it's gonna never happen. It would be something that we would apply for in the future because I'm guessing it would have the same impacts that this area had for.
Right.
It's
It's
gonna
gonna-
have the same benefit.
It's still there, right?
Yeah, they're still doing initiatives.
Funding
Yeah.
long term.
Oh, it- I'm like, is it-
I think it's the whitish color saying it's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, and it could come
I
sooner.
couldn't see it.
That was a great question.
And that, right, that's with our current funding situation where this is an operational improvement, it's not necessarily condition where. We're gonna be dropping board of condition and it's gonna be, it has to be really for it gets anyway.
Right.
Not even get an operational.
I think that's.
Yeah, one of the answers was they were gonna.
We would probably.
That's not helpful either.
Operational funding.
You're saying that.
Yeah, awesome. Think for this one.
Wasn't one of the responses, I know they're right in front of me, that. The owner agreed that close the Flower Land Road and they said yes. Correct. So are we all on the same page?
Yeah, and that's something that if you get in the full design.
Yeah.
That's what, yes, they were already like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Check that one off our list.
Future revisions of this, can we cross out that ramp that we're losing? We like put little X's across it just for
Yes, please.
clarity.
Thank you.
We can do that. That's good. Yeah, we usually do that. That's a good, yeah, oversight. Yeah. And there was one question, I think, Tony had at our last LAG about the speed. So the question was, MDOT can't set the posted speed. You have to go through the state police they do a speed study, what it's called. And Aaron just contacted me today. They went through their records in 2015, Aaron. So there was a speed study down here in 2015 and the speed was raised from 45 to 50. So that's why we warn a lot of local communities is like, you do a speed study and it may not get lowered. It may increase the speed limits. So there, and that's happened throughout a lot of communities.
So that was 2015. So what's the threshold for requesting another one? Should it become an issue?
Well, there's no threshold, but we were shocked that there was one that recent.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, okay, this is already.
So that is considered recent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause
Thank
usually
you.
when it goes up, you're not asking for another one, 'cause
Right, yeah.
55, so once these other signals and the intersections and some of this additional growth, you know, depending on what you're
Sure.
putting out there, there may be something, hey, maybe we ought to request one, but I would, of course, wait till after this is implemented for a while.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the context.
And there are studies out there that show there are perceived benefits of a boulevard where, when people are driving, they see this median next to you, they can slow down. So some studies do show boulevards have that benefit, reduce speeds, but we're not hanging our hats on that by any means.
So we're at the third revision, which I guess is about 4 different ones. Where does this land on, I'll say, the efficiency? Because in my brain, a couple meetings back, I asked a question. If we threw the wallet out, let's just imagine we have a traffic study that shows there's a problem. What would the real solution look like? And I never really heard an answer to that. I don't think you guys were in the room to really answer that. And I recognize it's way beyond the scope of what's probably possible, but I was curious to understand what that would look like. And obviously there's a dollar amount attached to that. Then you start looking at the, you know, the 1, the 2A, the 2B, as far as those solutions. And I hear us talking a lot about, we like J terms, we don't like J terms, what's gonna, you know, disturb the neighbor residents, and all that stuff is important. Well, what I don't see is, we should be able to well, at least for the traffic solution portion of it, we should be able to sum that up to a number. This is going to resolve that traffic study and improve it by 90%, 80%, 60%. What is the percentage on this solution as compared to the other ones that we've looked at already to really address the issue, which is the traffic movement?
Right. So what you're gonna see under this scenario, this alternative, we'll call it alternative 3 for now, is at Marketplace, it's gonna be the same as what we've already analyzed. And then we did have a percentage on that. Off the top of my head, I thought it was like a 19% increase in traffic operations and improvement. And obviously with broadband, there's going to be no improvements. So I'd have to go back looking at the modeling, but under that, we're called the no build scenario. We're not making any improvements at broadband. The traffic is going to get worse. You know, you're adding more traffic volume onto a network that's already congested. So we can get those percentage increases for you. But one of the things we need to look at typically, if you recall, when we had the traffic ops presentation is, you know, the roads are designed like a level service criteria. So if you wanted to have, you know, you could have a level of service A, that's the greatest thing, you know, everyone's moving, there's no delays, no queues, but at the same time, in order to get these level service A, B, and C, you have to add pavement, you're adding laneage. So it's that trade-off, whereas what's acceptable, you know, what's the minimum amount of delays we can handle out here? And typically, I think is, you know, typically we look for level service C and movements, but over, you know, even down in a situation like this, we're going to level service D, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's like, you know, I think it's over 30 seconds of average delay. It's a hard thing to conceptualize, but the average vehicle traveling through this intersection is going to experience 30 seconds to delay. You know, so one person's going to, you know, have 5 seconds delay. One's going to have a minute. It's that average delay. It's a hard thing to kind of wrap your head around. But again, it's that trade-off of what's your acceptable willingness. You need to, what are you willing to deal with? What amount of delay? In Ann Arbor, there'd be a little service E, and Ann Arbor would have a problem with it. It's, you know, it's your community, your setting. In urban settings, you're going to have more delay. Suburban settings, you're going to want to have less delay. Typically, rural areas, again, less delay. So it's that balance. What are we aiming for? What are we trying to achieve that's acceptable to the local communities? And again, it's an MDOT route. What's acceptable to MDOT standards?
So where are we at? Like, if we look further east down Saginaw, you know, are we at level E's or D's there? Is it similar to where we're at? This corridor, is it higher?
No, I think, I'm guessing, what we found is, you know, obviously there's a lot of traffic using Marketplace. So as you get farther down the corridor, you're losing folks at Marketplace, you're losing travelers at Broadbent. So, and that's out of the scope of the study. So I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I don't know if you guys have any idea, but yeah, I'm assuming it's level service C out there, minimal delays.
So if we're looking at achieving an E, so we become a bottleneck in this particular section, if we're C on both sides, let's say, but then you get here and now you're dealing with an E situation, will we not want to try to be comparably closer to what the surrounding?
For sure. That's one thing we did look at is this is definitely the bottleneck. It's high crash area, but again, everyone's stopping here, all delays are here. So when we looked at these alternatives, I think that was we try to have a level of service D or better for all the movements. And I think
You achieved that.
Yes, and so that's
Really, I think the only time it got to an E in a couple movements was on the Saturday.
This is Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Otherwise, during the week, PMs, AM peaks, it's all moving at a better level of service than what it is today. And, you know, and also, I mean, besides the level of service, it's all about safety improvement. So
That's-
as this thing gets implemented, if there's less crashes, less rear ends, I mean, that's also gonna help your level of service and your safety. I mean, people feel more comfortable driving through here, so. But I think it was really the only failures were on the weekend. There might have been one left or mainly at McGold.
Yeah, and what we found is, I think, so here's a good example. So at Marketplace, when we looked at this originally, you see this westbound left here, this dual left. We originally modeled this as a single left. And then we did the traffic modeling, the model popped out and it said that westbound left is a level service. I think it was even an F. It was very, It was terrible level service, long delays, long queues, so we went back in and designed a second left to see what would happen. And then that model showed you need a dual left here to have level of service D, I think it is.
Don't have to
So,
come down and turn.
and then another counter example, sorry about that, is over.
Guys,
It's just hard with the mics,
Sorry about that.
or with multiple.
So this is the double J left turn. I'm trying to get his numbers because I have them.
Oh, yeah, there should be, yep, yeah.
So with the double J left turn, Marketplace coming from the south went down to a C for going straight through. When with a single J turn, it was an F. McGaldy doesn't change, that's an E, a right turn coming out of McGaldy. And as Tony was saying, and I apologize for the noise, turning right, the only thing we don't know is how the U-turn for the trucks will impact the traffic study at all. Cause we didn't have that, but we were already at a E for turning right out of Marketplace under all scenarios.
That's a Saturday PM.
And it was a Saturday.
Saturday, yeah.
Yep.
So that's really the.
And then commercial drive was an issue with the double J's going right, but we talked about people would avoid it.
Yeah, what you'll find there'll be some natural balancing is all the, the side streets, they're gonna have poor level service during the Saturday peak. You'll find folks will, especially local drivers will find other ways out. They'll go back roads or wherever, but you'll see some of that balancing. We assume it won't be that bad. Another good example here too is at southbound Marketplace. In order to get southbound Marketplace to a level of service, I think it was a C, is we needed a triple right. So that was part of our original analysis too. We looked at that and everybody deemed that wasn't acceptable to have a triple right. There's geometric challenges, there's triple rights, you're gonna have crashes, it extends the crosswalk. So again, that's where we have these trade-offs for, capacity, more laneage compared to level of service. So there's always that balancing act. Over here originally, we had a dual, this crossover here was a 2-lane crossover. MDOT says we prefer not to have that. So we took another look at it and that traffic modeling showed us that eastbound to westbound crossover could be a single lane. So again, there's a lot of that back and forth as we're doing this initial modeling to see where those trade-offs are.
So, and then with this solution, as far as looking at envisioning forward, I know we mentioned there'll be a potential to go after grants or things of that nature for some additional stuff. But are we taking that into account, or is it gonna be, I guess, is that within the scope of what we're saying? Oh, we're not gonna do broadband, but here's the plan that we have for that. We'll put it on the shelf, but at least it's done. Do we know what moves are we gonna make next, I guess? So that we can phase this out. If it was 14,000 is the budget, but it's cost 20,000, we really want to do the 20,000, well, why don't we just do a phase approach? Okay, this year we'll do this thing, and this year, and then the following year we'll do that next phase.
And I think that's the way we're looking at it now as a phased approach. Like Aaron said earlier, go ahead, Aaron.
I mean, we don't have money to go beyond this phase right now. But as far as some of the other things that we were talking about, grants, like there's things that the township is gonna have to pay for that we're more than willing to put into the project if you guys have the funding, like the lighting, sidewalk improvements. Some of those things are, and that doesn't necessarily pay for, like, we'll put sidewalks in standard 5 foot. If the township wants it to be a 10 foot, then we need to work with you guys to get the funding for that. That I think is the grants that
and Jason, can you show that page? I think that's itemized on the first page of your presentation, or maybe yeah, it's on one of those pages.
Oh,
The stuff that's gonna go into the design. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So these are all the things that this group has been talking about. And I bring it up now so that you know that MDOT, these are under consideration by MDOT as they move into, correct me if I'm wrong, as they move into the actual design phase, so they're going beyond these, the PowerPoint design, that'll be considered. And if there's room for those things, they may design for them. However, those are things that this group will have to, if we want, if there's an opportunity to put them in, and if there's the, the cost and identify the dollars. Some of those may be able to cover it. I've heard multiple people over the last couple months say there might be opportunities to try to find some funding for those kind of things. We don't have them identified yet, but.
Well, and to Don's point, I mean, there's also likely to be different pressures as this project gets completed, because maybe East and West will not may create new bottleneck challenges or new safety challenges, because there's already issues further down and there's development happening down there too. So I love the phased approach. It's just hard to hold a crystal ball up, and it's hard to ask for money until you figure it out.
Right. Well, I think that's part of the conversation we had last week was just that point is until you see the full build out on what's gonna happen on the north side,
Agreed.
you really are taking, it's an educated guess. So I think this makes a lot of sense.
I do too.
This approach is very
Even-
logical, very
Regardless of the fiscal
responsible,
constraints that we have, that we need to do it, this is a really,
regardless.
yeah, regardless, this is still a good approach.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I
But to
think
your
that-
point, it's not the ideal approach, which in business, we're always trying to think
Right.
that way, right? And that's frustrating to me and you would think, but.
And from a daily user of this section, I think the phased down approach, more cost efficient approach, really addresses the vast majority of the safety concern
Yeah.
in that corridor. It eliminates a lot of the head-on stuff I see day to day especially.
Yeah,
And it'll eliminate some of those close calls of people making lefts across that area. So as being in that corridor every day and watching some nail biting activities, I'm pleased with this as a cost efficient option
Friday.
versus what it could be later. So that'll show a picture.
That was Friday.
It was, well, just, it was
Ooh.
nothing but bumper to bumper all the way through here, and it's not even part of that. This side was the worst part on Friday for my travel anyway, so. It's interesting. This intersection out here, if I remember correctly, fails completely now, right? I think it's F's all the way through. So-
I feel like,
I mean, it's
it's not
just
good.
the signal operation of the home, it just takes forever.
Yep.
Like, a lot of traffic.
And that's one thing too, you at the public meetings of, some of the comments we received, that's one thing that kind of gets missed for the project, that it's not only to improve congestion, but it's also to improve safety. And that was one of the main purpose of this project was to improve safety, and
Sure.
that's what the boulevard accomplishes. So we pointed that out a lot at the public meetings, not just congestion, safety as well.
You can move traffic through here faster. And probably more and spend more, but we want to have the safety component with it essentially. We could spend the 14 million and move the traffic through there a lot more efficiently. But then does that increase the risk of traffic, right? You can add another lane through there, I think on both sides pretty easily, but 3 lanes, people turning left across will be really fun. Yeah.
And we did, that was one alternative that was looked at. If you, added another 3 lane each direction, that was looked at as part of the original study. And it was,
Even 7 lanes.
yeah, 7 lane cross
Yeah,
section.
yuck.
Works great, but.
Right.
Safety wise.
Yeah, so that was eliminated as part of the original study, that option. Yeah, right?
But you're right.
So if I could ask, so what's the, are you looking for anything else out of this group at this time? So you've landed on the budget proposal. I'll say, I don't mean to be, I'm not denigrating it, but the budget option.
Yep.
And is there anything else needed from this group? At one point, there was a request for some sort of recommendation. I don't think that's necessary at this point. I mean, you look in your wallets.
Right.
I don't think. So if that not being the case, really this is informational, so we all know kind of how they're gonna proceed. This group is gonna be at the township board to kind of give the same information on this next Monday night. And then moving forward, what's your expectation for interfacing with the CIA, or is there anything until you get to a design phase? Can you walk them through that? Or
Yeah, so
that?
typically, so the next phase, there'll be some sort of announcement we're hoping on, the township website, MDOT website of the alternative moving forward. And then once the project goes to design, is typically MDOT will have another public meeting to announce, here's the project schedule, here's the maintenance of traffic, here's how the construction staging is going to occur, here's how you're gonna be able to access the businesses. And as part of that, we would probably have another LAG meeting as well. I think it was our initial discussions previously. So we anticipate at least one more LAG and at least one more public meeting.
Okay, and that's where I would at least seeing our group. Obviously, there's a lot of things out of the spheres of influence for this group, but helping people navigate during construction, getting the word out about what exactly is happening, how their commute or how their business is impacted. Those are all things we can play a real big role in.
So on Monday, you're coming back into the board. Are you looking, so you're not looking for any approvals from the board. You're just, it's more information.
Yeah, it's informational. They're just telling them this is how they plan on, this is the scope of the work, this is how they plan to proceed. Really more of an update for them,
I know,
because they haven't heard from this team yet, right? I don't remember, yeah.
I know,
Correct.
Fonda hasn't seen any of this, correct?
No, not this exact thing, no.
Do you?
But she does know that they'll be
Some
there.
form of acknowledgement from the CIA board that we've reviewed or any summary at all? Okay,
No, you don't. I mean, actually think it's probably in your best interest not to.
okay.
Not that there's any.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking.
Not that there's a blame thing going, but I mean, it just, they don't need, they don't need your approval to
Yeah, no.
access the funding or do the project, so I don't see any value in the CIA board recommending anything specific. But you may feel otherwise.
So to follow up on your point, my question would be building on what you said, that some of our involvement can be help communicating to the community and anticipating workarounds for the obstacles that come up from the project. But beyond that, so that we stay focused on, you know, next steps like evaluating lighting and sidewalks. And how do you see us moving through that? Or what are best practices so that when we do that, we're not only telling them, here's what's happening, or helping tell them here's what's happening, and here's how we're working with MDOT, but here's some other things we're contemplating.
I think this group, when you get into the design phase, sorry, you can shut me up in a second. You'll have better understanding the viability of some of these options that we discussed earlier, whether it's lighting or opportunities for these things. And at that point, we would be able to engage on location, on scope, on cost, funding, all those kind of things.
Yeah, I think some of them are given, if you guys want lighting, because that was like one of the main things, we want lighting, okay, we can incorporate that in the design. And we can work with the power company, right, we go straight to consumers and kind of work with them to design the lighting. Other things like the sidewalk improvements, like I said, I'm not gonna be putting sidewalks in, if you guys want something different, then have communications, but we can put that in our design. But we will include it in our design, we'll design it, and we'll make sure it gets built. Then we'll just talk about
And-
funding, which.
And along those same lines, I mean, non-motorized travel was a big part of the discussion from the beginning. So at what point would we be involved or be aware of how the timing of the lights is working so that people can cross them? And, you know, where's bicycle traffic get routed, if at all?
That's way down, I don't know.
I think it probably is way down the road too. I
Right.
just want to know if we get asked, so we get a sense of.
Yeah, I think for most of, I mean, we typically, any township group probably wouldn't be involved in like the timing of the lights, but the facilities. You know, the crossings or the shared use path, if we have it in, or the sidewalks, I think that's where we need to provide the direction and potentially help with, or looking for funding, or potentially the CIA could be, you know, funder on some of those things.
Right.
But as far as like the engineering of I don't know, just like the timing of the lights, I would leave that up to.
Because you can tell by any bunch of signals, they're all gonna be optimized so that they're working together to move traffic well. And then the pedestrian movements come into that as well. I mean, so those are all getting done once the lights are all in place, the side where the facilities are gonna be. And then that's all part of the signal optimization process, which.
Makes perfect sense.
So right, ongoing.
Well, but at our last LAG meeting, there was talk about the
Yeah.
light at Broadway
Broadway.
right now and how nobody can turn left. Like,
So they can
we
look
can
at
go look
that.
at the timing of that right now.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's that today. To make that.
That makes perfect sense. And I think it's reasonable and logical. I just am anticipating being in front of people saying, hey, we got this. Here's what we're doing and it's great. And here's why it's great. And it's not optimal, but you know, we had a budget and then they go, well, what are you doing about bike paths? And I'm like, I don't know. We'll get to it. I'd rather have a plan
Bench this
saying,
event.
right, no, it's
Trees.
on the plan.
Right.
It's gonna go this. Lighting,
Totally.
it's on the plan and here's what we're looking at. And we're trying to, I just want to be able to, I know that's not happening tomorrow either. I'm just trying to anticipate.
Yeah,
that.
it's some- it's gonna be,
Yeah.
Right.
and that's the stuff that we're gonna get into. Right away and property owners' willingness to allow us to use their right of way.
think that that's gonna be a critical thing to identify early, because then if you immediately get into like preliminary design and say there's just absolutely no room, then help guide us to guide you. If, say, we know you want a 10-foot path and we think there's room, but you need to acquire these 3 easements or something like that. That's, I
Sure.
think, where our role will come in.
Does that make sense?
That sounds good.
That's good partnership there, so. Hopefully we maintain that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. This has been great.
Any other questions?
Doug, did you have anything you wanted to share?
I know.
Okay.
He's taking your advice. He said it's better.
No.
Take no stance.
Oh, no, understand it.
I'm just kidding.
It's just a process and there's a timing part. So
If we're
once
too
you
early
know
to-
what you think you
right.
want, then the best is to get that, get these grant applications in so they can see where it falls, the timing wise. I mean, the timeline will go quick. It looks like it takes a while, but we can right away utilities, all the design, applications with drainage, everything they gotta deal with is good.
Sure.
And yeah, to put a bow on it, we've made our wishes, we've given our wish list to MDOT. They're aware of it. As they get into design, they're gonna talk to us opportunities to incorporate those things, and there's more to come on it.
That sounds good. Thank you.
And I think it's a great segue to the next thing, but before we move on to it, nobody else has any other, yep. go
There's
ahead.
one other thing, is just as a CIA board, as we look moving forward, maintaining the median. Does that fall to the township or does that fall to MDOT? And I know that's kind of a loaded question as I travel around the state and see different conditions of medians differently. And so I imagine eventually that's gonna,
It varies. It depends on the area. I think we would probably be asking for a maintenance agreement to have the township maintain.
a maintenance agreement would be MDOT pays for the township to care for it.
Usually the agreement say you're paying for it. You're feeling that.
Is it,
It's your problem.
is that, Aaron, is that if we push for something like green, like a green, I mean, if it's just concrete, is there a lot of what's that?
Then it could be different. So like, an example would be, we just put in some pedestrian islands on M99 in Lansing. And their CIA wants plants in those pedestrian islands. We have an agreement with them that they will maintain them because we don't take their. Our guys aren't good at that. They can weed whack it. Cool.
Right,
It's
so we're-
not our sin. So, but they wanted.
Yeah.
So that's something that we would want to consider when we're.
That's one.
And that's stuff that we can work out. If you guys want.
Because we don't have any maintenance built in here.
That's something we can work out to make it more appealing.
Can we carve out something?
We talked
We
about it.
could.
We talked about it,
We
but
got a lot,
that
we
makes
got a
sense.
lot of money theoretically. We could.
that was a good question. Thank you.
I.
Potentially.
We talked about it before, but no, it's a great question.
Potentially, I would just warn you, we would want to be careful. We don't really have crew, and that's a dangerous area to maintain. So just to keep that in mind.
You're thinking
for the
concrete
future.
plant would be better.
Well, I mean, certainly, I think staff understands the desire to have aesthetic stuff. It's just that's a tough area to have, like plantings and going out to water flowers in the middle of 30,000 vehicles.
You can do like that first stuff and like low maintenance trees.
With just everything in there, get something to grow in there.
I
think you'd be able to hurt. And you don't want anything growing tall that blocks you to traffic hurt in and businesses. I mean, there's a lot of different things.
I think everybody, it sounds to me like everybody agrees, we want to consider the aesthetics, but we need to consider the realities of keeping it up and find something that.
Well,
When it comes to greenery, it might be more on the sides.
there's like low maintenance
Different things.
options we could look into.
Um, Any other
So I don't have to take any
discussion,
hit by
questions?
watering.
So I know on behalf of
No.
us, we appreciate the work you
Thank
put
you.
into
Yeah,
it and all your
Thank you
time,
guys, it's been great.
patience with us explaining it, since people like me don't understand it at all, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
And it's a good segue into that longer term view, which is corridor visioning in the 2025 master plan,
Yeah.
Peter.
Oh, I'm secret message from the manager, hold on.
Okay, not that secret.
Secret method.
Message.
Oh,
It's right.
MDOT, while you're in the room, are you able to provide
Take
us,
care of the plants.
Yeah.
do you have an update on the Carrier Creek project? And if you do, could you speak directly into the microphone?
The, the culvert
The
line,
culvert, just the current work.
just,
Okay.
Is there a reason?
no, I
No,
just thought while you
just
guys
curious.
were here, if you had any, I know where our office has received a lot of questions about what.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Really, really, really negatively impacted by that in the afternoon.
Have you been
I
down
think there was
Saginaw?
a crack ceiling
There
through,
was, yes.
that-
Something in that link.
What did that crack see?
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
out of here.
The crack ceiling was.
Brutal.
I don't wanna take us off track, but crack ceiling, where, sorry.
No,
Right,
okay.
it was in front of your place.
Well, we'll move on to section, number 2, which is corridor visioning under old items of business. So if you didn't know, and you might not, 2025 master plan is underway. We're starting the official process. I had a kickoff open house meeting last Tuesday here it was at the public library, and it was well attended. And we are working with OHM advisors to put together a draft. So there's a, much like this LAG group that's been guiding this project, we have a steering committee for the master plan project made up of 3 planning commissioners, one of which Rachel's in the room right now. And so we made it through 1 chapter and have a draft on that. We'll be moving into the next chapter, which I put a little card in front of your places here. That's a link to a survey that will help inform the master plan. So if you could please take that survey, it's really works, it's optimized to work on your phone, it'll work on your tablet or your PC at home. Thank you, Doug.
Bye-bye.
And if you could please share that with your friends, share it with your family. We're looking for, to spread that as far and wide as we possibly can. And if you need more, let me know. I can always get more cards printed, or if you want me to go somewhere and talk about the master plan or talk about the survey, I can also do that. But as we think kind of bigger picture, I don't have anything in the packet that really speaks to this, but I wanted to talk about how I see the intersection of the master plan and the CIA. And it really comes down to, I think, our exercise around the future land use map when we get there. So we're right now talking about, if you have any familiarity with the master plan, and if you don't, I don't blame you. There's a lot of stuff in it. But the first chapter, the first part is really all about existing conditions. So it's a rundown of the amenities in your community, the different community facilities that you have. And the real meat of it to me are like the goals and objectives of the community as it relates to land use and the future land use map. The future land use map is an important document because it is a roadmap or blueprint for how the community sees land use. Now, in a mostly developed community like this, isn't particularly radical in the sense that we have very established neighborhoods, we have established commercial areas. I don't think anyone is looking to make significant changes to that.
Pete,
Oh,
was that discussed already, or is that still
no, that's still a comment.
ongoing?
Yeah,
Ongoing.
yeah, it's ongoing, but the conversation, the community conversation is about to start soon.
Gotcha.
So as we get into future phases of this master plan, I see the master plan itself probably identifying West Saginaw as a future study area, but then this group driving, with my help and with our team's help, driving the conversation about land use on West Saginaw corridor. You're the experts. I mean, everybody, as we've learned, everybody drives down West Saginaw, but this group in particular is, I think, the best position to really talk about land use. Do we see any properties changing designations, which you'll have to see what they're designated now to learn more about that. Do we, and put that aside, part of the master plan is going to tell us, because we're doing a little bit different take on master planning. We're looking, because this community specifically, every community is different, but this community specifically has Capacity challenges as it relates to sewer.
Hmm.
Capacity. So it's not so much the processing end of it. Our water resource reclamation facility is being upgraded and it has capacity. It's like the tubes that feed the system. So for example, Carrier Creek that we would just talked about, that's an actual drain that runs north-south through the community. Much like the people that are being assessed for a different drain, that drain is very expensive. There have been some work has been done to it, and it is essentially, for practical purposes, untouchable. It's not gonna get upgraded without $100 million. It's not gonna get replaced without that plus whatever significant soil amendments to make it
Sure.
change. So understanding that and understanding kind of again, you can see my kind of infantile understanding of the sewer infrastructure. The tubes are not gonna, can't get out of this facility. Knowing that, there's only certain areas where we're gonna be able to grow. So are those areas on the corridor? Are there, I'm just kind of posing some questions that I'm considering my own. Are there areas on the corridor that might be served for be a future use, higher density residential? There may be other communities where or other portions of the community where we can't do that. Maybe there are some properties on West Saginaw that would be ideal, that we have the capacity for. It's on a commercial corridor. There's a lot of things aligning for that. Right now, we might not be able to do those things. I mean, there's shallow lots, the zoning doesn't necessarily incentivize it. So that is some of like corridor visioning. I see that perfectly aligning with the master plan discussion about future land use. So those are all to come. I don't really have anything to show you right now. Everything we have is in draft form. I don't want to go to start releasing all that stuff. But as we get there, I'd like to bring like all of us to go on that ride together. And I think it's gonna be very interesting and perfectly aligned with what we're talking about. Like, this is a really good combination and good timing. So, yeah, that being said, please do share the survey around. That's gonna help inform kind of the basis for the plan. And we're gonna learn a lot more in the coming weeks about this. And we'll have a lot of maps to react to and properties to really hone in on. I'm kind of working in my mind of like what the best way to do that is. Obviously, at least one thing I learned through the corridor project is 4 miles is really hard to visualize, especially on paper. In a room like this, I mean, you saw what we had to do with the big page, the pages and everything to get it on paper to look at it. So we break that down into some areas that might make a lot more sense. And there are just some natural breaks on the corridor as I've been out here longer and, that kind of, I think will fit to study. Some geographic areas, like this is mall land, this is the eastern whatever, this is this. So we'll be able to get into that further.
Peter, just to be clear, this is for the entire township.
Entire township, the master plan covers the whole township.
Okay.
I was envisioning this group
Yeah.
focusing just on West Saginaw corridor. But the survey you've got
Is
talks
the
about the whole
entire thing.
township.
Okay.
Um. Real quick, number one, I think congratulations on the turnout for that. I know it's a separate note, but that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
And I think that was quite an achievement. So whoever on your team helped too, hope you'll pass on congratulations from us. Specifically for these cards, if you want, we did have some success before putting them on the host stand at the
Yeah.
restaurant.
yeah, thank you.
Happy to
for
take
doing
a stack and then people can grab them and obviously they're on the corridor. And if you could just help me frame master plan, because I don't know, it sounds like all encompassing, but is that everything from vision and land use to ordinances and policies?
It's not so much ordinance and policies. Sometimes there are goals and objectives related to ordinances and policies. For example, we might determine that we want to see more mixed use in, I'm just making something up, or higher in one particular aspect of the township. And that might be a goal is to develop our mixed use into something a little bit, better ordinance that's more usable for developers. So that, I could see that, but it's not so much a deep dive on policy and prescriptive in the sense that it changes to the sign ordinance, changes to particular aspects in our zoning ordinance. That's partially in there. Now I guess it just depends. Some master plans kind of throw it out and start new minimum sizes for lots, new everything. I wasn't thinking necessarily we'd see a lot of that, but,
And maybe I'm reading too much into this and maybe I'm just not sharp enough, but I hear you thinking there may require some strategic perspective on how to attract or develop businesses on West Saginaw without putting additional pressure on the pipes. right?
Well, not so much that, it's the conversation about the pipes are gonna tell us where, if we were looking to just say there's a block in the eastern area of West Saginaw that could be ideal for someone to come in and buy, knock down the buildings, do first level retail, 2 stories of residential above. Does our ordinance allow that kind of thing right now? Probably not.
And what's the impact on the sewer system?
Well, the
Right.
sewer system is,
Because-
we are going to understand through this process where those areas are, would accommodate that kind of development. So there's gonna be some areas that are red that say, no, we just, this is an area where we're not gonna be able to accommodate anything. Best use for this area is ground level retail, and there's no capacity to do 2 or 3 stories of residential. There are gonna be some areas that might be green. And that's what I say about, having a built community, one of the challenges is like, where could this stuff go? I mean, we have even the further constraint of like, where can this go and be properly serviced by our system? There might be some areas that flash as green with that data set that would say this area, the eastern, there's 2 blocks on the eastern part of West Saginaw that would be ideal, we have a lot of capacity, that would be ideal if you're going to, I know, and these are all dangerous, like political terms, if you're going to have something for mixed use or a higher density residential of some type, that this would be ideal. Kind of knowing that, I mean, to me, it really helps to know where that can happen. You kind of back into your land use,
Mhm.
knowing your capacity.
Correct.
That's what I assumed.
So that's a lot of me talking, but if you have hopefully, if you have any questions about kind of where that's going, this is a conversation that's gonna unfold over time. So there's no easy wins on the CIA board, I don't think.
What's the timing of all this?
This year,
Really?
Mhm.
yeah.
Why?
Why now?
No, why so quick?
Oh, just because it's happening. We have to get, it's been a long time since the last plan. 2013. So there was an attempt to start the process
was.
in 2020,
Yep.
right before COVID. They had a consultant on team, for a variety of reasons that didn't happen. So we've reinvigorated this, but it has to happen. Well, for one, we got a grant to pay for half of the to pay for 50,000 out of the master plan, and it's
Good.
tied specifically
That's a good
to
reason.
housing and where it could potentially go in the township. So that's why I talk about that some of that is
Reason.
around that.
Yeah,
So that grant has to be expended by the end of this year.
okay.
But the other thing is just to keep it moving. We want to get this thing done. And I think as we transition out of the conversations about this particular project, this will be good to
Well, it was just
fodder for this group.
back in the day, how commercial development sort of crept to broadband came out of the master plan.
Mhm.
And the frontages and how deep along broadband and the step down came from the master plan. So one of the questions I would have is regarding this corridor right next door is west of broadband. Is there any impact? It's too early probably to even understand. But, would there be commercial zoning west of broadband?
Well,
Would there, those type of things.
Yeah.
Christ and Saginaw is another big plot of land, right? Marketplace to the south. I don't know if that's all commercial, if that's office back
I
there.
think it's office, and that's
Office.
definitely a consideration. Are there places that is office still viable for areas like that?
Yeah.
We're talking Marketplace Boulevard south of
Yeah,
West Saginaw.
exactly.
The thing about going west, I mean, it's both a capacity issue and a political issue at some point, because I think I would say, I don't know the opinion of every board member. I would say there probably is not a desire to extend utilities to serve commercial developments past broadband.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and capacity just kind of lines up with it, so.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a lightning rod.
Yeah. So we'll be, I've been thinking about how to best kind of package this for everyone. So have a little patience on that, but I think it's a really exciting conversation that will be very valuable. Your input will be very valuable in.
It is exciting.
Yep.
Any other comments, discussion, questions? No. Moving on. Any new business? Anybody would like to bring up? Got enough old business or any new business?
I'm not sure where to put it,
Okay.
but Peter, I was gonna ask about the 4,300 building on Saginaw, where I believe the drain commission is doing the bank drain. site, and do we have any information on what that's gonna look like? That's clearly a large parcel within the corridor. And, it's interesting, I saw a wonderful article done yesterday, and I'm not sure where it was done at, but about the Drain Commission project in EM County over in the Frandor area, how they redesign that into more of a park setting. And so I wonder, do we have that similar opportunity there, or from a resident standpoint, is there opportunity to put development around that as part of the master plan to help offset some of the astronomical costs of the drain? So I was wondering if you could speak to any of
Sure.
that piece, or what that plan is gonna look
Also a
like from the
good
drain
segue.
commission standpoint.
So the question is, what's the name of the school again?
So, old,
Is
old,
that your
Ra-
detention?
old
Old
Rafferty,
Rafferty School. So this is West Saginaw, west of Clark, west of Thomas L. Parkway, across from Chupley. Everybody loves Chupley. That's their landmark. So I don't have a design. We could get this for you another time. The drain office has this project. It's part of their drain project, the one that people were assessed for that lived in this drainage area. Our understanding, and I think Brian probably knows more than I do, is this is drain infrastructure. It's ponds. And right now they're talking about potentially leaving a space in the front for a developable site.
yeah, right now they
Go
have all that in the back will be detention pond. They're currently, you see a lot of activity out there on the building, so they're doing asbestos abatement throughout that building is huge, so that's still slated to go on for a little more while. And as Peter said, so all that in the back will all be detention pond. And then they are, at this point, their preliminary design is they're leaving this area up front. That's gonna be their staging for the project, but when that's completed, that can be turned back to the I think they are hoping to turn that back to commercial. So we have on the township board, there's some different thoughts about whether that should be green space or commercial. It's not really an area where it's easy to kind of walk to or kind of hang around in, but that large of a detention pond actually saved them quite a bit of money on being able to reduce pipe size to be able to store some water. But at this point in their design, it's mainly a detention pond, so they do not have kind of the bells and whistles, just because of how much this project escalated. They don't have the Frandor type bells and whistles.
Do you mean like toll gate? Is that what you're speaking to?
What's that?
Are you speaking of like toll gate and Groesbeck? How it has the advanced drain system in it? Each detention pond flows to the next, pumps the water from the
Yeah.
groundwater into it, so it filters it and then puts it back into the water table.
Correct. This is just gonna be a detention pond, and when we have heavy rains, it'll fill up
Okay.
and it'll just delay the
Water.
water to the river so that it allows for more capacity in the pipes. Most of the time, it'll probably be dry and cattails.
Okay.
So there may be an opportunity for redevelopment in the front here. We aren't sure at this point what that looks like, how it will be controlled, who will have influence over how it gets built. Hopefully the township, I mean, if in fact it is a viable spot, maybe the township will have an opportunity collectively to have a development agreement with somebody and make something cool there. I don't know. I don't want to make any promises. So to be continued. As far as that project, that offsetting what people spent on their drain assessment, I don't know. I don't think that that's in the cards.
It's a big plot on our corridor, and so I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be, again, it's gonna be relevant what happens there. I think it's a little disappointing that it's gonna be such a large pond, but I also understand that, again, cost benefit analysis of it, and you kind of gotta do what we have the money to do. But that's not ours per se.
Well, the money, so the Road Cedar project, and I don't wanna be quoted on this, but like, they had a ton of state TIF tax dollars as well. And so, and look at all the investment around, so they were able to support that through tax reimbursement to help them make, and it was, Pat Lemon's pet project for years.
Yeah.
It's on the Red Cedar River, like all the things, right? Like, so it just had a lot more going for it. Like this would be hard to figure out how to pay for that.
But when we did first find out about it, we asked right away about trying to get that front at least reserved for development and to figure out if there was gonna be any
Yeah.
room for green space, but good point, it's not very accessible even if.
Right.
If you had
It's
any
not.
green space around
Yeah,
a
because-
retention pond or something.
And because of the size of the pond, you
There's
can
no
really
big pond.
add it in either, which
Yeah.
again, it makes
Yeah.
sense. Trying to replace that space with piping or underground would be astronomical expenses, I get that.
I think at one time, there was interest in that becoming a apartment complex, right? That, and the sewer wouldn't.
There was, yeah,
wouldn't
unfortunately.
support it, So they couldn't do it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so. Any other thoughts or new business? Otherwise, that also is a good segue to the project updates, of which I guess that could be considered one, but do you want to give any project updates?
The only thing I'll touch on is we continue to work with the Bass Pro team on their project. We're getting closer. It's taken a long time. I mean, there's a lot that had to been done to get all that organized and ready for the next phase of
With an
development.
80% tariff and back up from there.
Yeah. So, well, it went on, yeah, we're trying to fix up kind of what didn't get done the first time around and also get ready for the next set. So that's really the only thing. I will apprise you with when that is ready to move on.
I appreciate the paint.
Oh, yeah, so yeah, we have been pushing hard and they did do some improvements to Marketplace Boulevard because it was in pretty bad shape north of West Saginaw there. This is more of an aside, so I know some of you may get 517 business, just as an FYI. So there's a few corridor improvement authorities in the area. Meridian Township, Meridian has one, that's kind of active. East Lansing had one that is essentially not active at all. There is this group that runs, from MLK to, what did we say earlier? MLK to,
CC area.
yeah, so another portion of Saginaw. So they're on the cover. There's a very short story in here about kind of the activities of the CIA for this area. So it's worth checking out. I can probably scan it and send it around just as it's aspirational. Maybe someday we'll have the cover, we'll have different faces on it. Bourbon right in the middle here.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it'll be after I'm here. In this seat at least.
That's really, unless you had something to share.
I guess not necessarily related to the corridor, but probably a big thing for the corridor is just if anybody had questions about the township special assessment for police services that we're currently working through the assessment process. So we, as everybody knows, the county's had some severe financial issues. And for years, we've contracted with the county for police services. So when their two millages over the past year went down, we had to negotiate a new contract with them, which resulted in kind of extraordinary cost increases for us to the tune of basically almost doubling our contract. So the Delta voters for both county millages approved the millage, even though as a whole, as a county,
Right.
the millage went down. So our board decided the best way to fund the new contract was doing a special assessment. So folks in the township should have at least received one special assessment notice. We had to have two public hearings, one to set the district, and then the second one, which you should be receiving any day now, is for the actual assessment roll. So I just wanted to apprise the board of that. And if there were any questions, I'd be happy to answer. We feel like it was the best path forward. We were able to preserve contract with the county. If anybody has paid attention to how hard it is to hire police officers, the thought of trying to staff a 40-person department from scratch was very daunting. We did look at it and analyze it, and this maintaining a contract and maintaining the deputies with the county was the best path forward at this point. So, but like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions, even though
Is
it's not quite related, but.
No, I was gonna ask about that and also the housing meeting last week as well. But with regards to the special assessment, does that start in 25? Is that gonna affect summer?
That That will,
taxes or is that winter, is that gonna be in the winter tax?
winter taxes, so for your December tax bill, it
Yeah.
will go on,
Okay,
uh,
and that is forever at this point? Is that a
Ye-
one-time hit or is that gonna be yearly? That's gonna be
that,
special?
it'll be annually, but we, every year we have to have a public hearing to set the assessment roll.
Oh,
So,
really?
Okay, yep, okay.
yes,
So it could
so
go,
this year we are setting the assessment for
For just this one contract.
this, oh, are you talking about the police contract? or the
Yes.
The
Yeah.
actual special assessment?
the special assessment, which was a result of the police contract, correct?
Correct. So
Okay.
yeah, the police contract is 10 years, but
Okay.
it's automatically rolls over. There's a 3-year opt-out
Okay,
to pay for it. The special assessment is an annual decision,
okay,
but it operates much like a millage. I
Okay.
mean, we anticipate that will be ongoing.
okay.
You have to do it annually because it's a special assessment.
Yeah,
It's
annually you'd get a special
No.
assessment notice. We'd have a public
Yeah.
hearing and say, so for this year, it's 1.5 mils. Next year, we'd have, if we keep it the same, 1.5 mils, you'd get another assessment says we're, and it could go up or it could go down, but
And then before we move on to the housing forum, which I'm glad you asked about, if you get a chance, check out last Monday's board meeting because the Township's finance director presented and really walked to the board through kind of how they got here and why this option was being considered and all the numbers behind all that. It's worth checking out if you have any questions or if you get questions from friends, colleagues, whatever, to hear that particular part of the meeting.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Just to follow up on what Tony brought up, on Wednesday, the 6th, we had a special meeting with the township board about housing. And the premise was that there's a lot of stuff about housing information, a lot of acronyms. And it was just an attempt to try to provide a foundational base, so some foundational information for the board. Really with the intent, I mean, from my perspective as a staff person, like, we talk to developers multiple times a week. And whether or not we have an active request is kind of doesn't matter because things are coming. There are developers out there that are way better in understanding the housing, what used to be brownfield, the housing TIF, and definitely plan on using it. So it's behooves our board, our residents, our staff to learn as much about these programs, whether it's a housing TIF or other things out there. To be prepared and informed for future decisions. So it was to provide just some basic information. We had Mishta in the room. We had Capillary Housing Partnership, both to talk about kind of how they work. Our team gave President Brian talked about issues like payment in lieu of taxes, the housing TIF, some other things. I spoke probably a lot about all kinds of policy related issues. I mean, there's so much to say about housing.
Is,
Really just trying to prepare, get some bottom line information for if we do get requests. And the goal was like, we'll get this out now and we'll come back and talk about specific things. So I could see us coming back to the board and talking about pilot, actually, we're gonna have a developer that wants to do a housing TIF at this next meeting on Monday.
oh, you will?
Yeah, it's not an official request. I mean, they're talking generally about what they want to do. And as you can imagine, I mean, housing right now, specifically affordable housing, is a hot button issue in this community. There is not, I mean, just from if you're just paying attention to the people in this room on the night of the board meeting, there is not support. In fact, completely the opposite for any kind of affordable housing, attainable housing, any kind of incentivized or subsidized housing. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you talk about the definitions of what those are to set the table?
A little bit, not as thoroughly as we could have.
Have future conversations, like in the role I play, I'm happy to assist just for educational purposes, so just let me know.
Okay, no, thank you. for
Definitely
that.
part of my role for this region.
No, and this was step one. There's a lot more to come on
Oh,
housing.
I'm glad you guys are proactive though, and did that.
Yeah, I mean, the goal for me, especially walking out of that meeting, was like, we need to get correct information in front of people and really help to understand this issue better and help to teach. teach, and I don't mean it to sound
Yeah, educate.
directive, like,
Sure.
but to help people understand what these programs are, how they're funded, who qualifies for them. In many cases, and this is not a political statement, in many cases, working people are the people that live in attainable, affordable housing projects. They are. I mean, these are people that are in our community
Mhm.
that aren't, right, I'll keep the spiel, but, rising costs of everything just doesn't always, not everyone can
We can't
come
come
along
in the
with that.
rents, this region can't come in the rents that the cost that it takes to building housing.
Right,
Can't.
so, and the developers are even keen, are way better at understanding those programs and how to utilize them than we are, so we all need to be ready for that.
Okay.
So it was day one, and I'm sure a 5-year discussion on housing, but just so that you all, I mean, I don't know how the rumor works, but if you can help me, there are no active projects.
Okay.
No asks right now.
All right.
There are no, projects at Argo. We have no applications for anything. There are rumors in the community, and there are developers that have talked about doing these things.
Is there a grant on the table right now?
It's all TIF, it's not grant money,
There's
Yeah.
no grants.
No,
it's TIF.
All right, that's good to know because that was a rumor I just heard.
yeah, and there's no projects, so like there's no high-rise tower planned behind Kroger.
Okay.
There's no Section 8 housing proposed at the vacant land at Kreitz,
Okay.
at St. Joe,
Okay.
behind McDonald's and all that over
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
So if and when those
Good to
things
know.
come to our shore, there will be a process to talk about them.
Look at you being proactive. Good job. I got one other hot button for you. Is there gonna be, as part of November's cycle, the CATA transit millage? Have you guys been looped in on that? Is there anything?
Yes. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That is a township project. And just really quick, before we get into that, I did get an update from Aaron on the Carrier Creek update. So lining is complete, work on the south side complete. Need to pour a cap for the sanitary, and we'll be finishing the riprap and should be done later this week or early next week.
Fantastic.
So yes, the township board did vote to put a public transportation millage on the ballot for November. And it's mainly covering Route 3. And I can't believe I didn't think to update you on that, get caught up in the sheriff stuff so much, because that is directly on the corridor, and the extension. So, over the years, going back really a decade ago, the township had a grant, and worked with CATA and had services throughout the township, in addition to E-Tran. And, we had a 3-year pilot. At that time, they felt like those services weren't exactly what we were looking for. We couldn't really get, there wasn't really a lot of good return on investment. So at that time, they voted not to push that forward to voters on the ballot. And then we went to work trying to dial in a little bit more of what exactly was needed. So E-Tran, which is the county, in Eaton County, the public transportation, they do more dial-a-ride, like curb-to-curb service. So we were able to work with CATA. They received grants to extend Route 3, which went to the mall out of Lansing. And then through these grants, we were able to extend it from the mall all the way down here, then down Canal, and then up Marketplace, to basically serve the entire commercial corridor. So I forget how much the grants were, but it's a couple $1 million. So those have kind of come to an end. I know for a lot of people, everything that's going on, this was not great timing, but there's a lot of momentum on the public transportation side. So this ballot proposal will be on for November for 0.75 mils for public transportation. It doesn't necessarily have to be CATA. It would allow the township to contract and get the best service or service provider possible. Currently, Route 3 is CATA. And not saying that they wouldn't be the best organization to do it, but that's why the ballot language is more neutral with that. So it does give us the option, so we're not necessarily tied in with CATA, but can pay
Okay.
for pay for the dedicated route service, and we will have a website dedicated to that as well, and there will be more public information in our publications and that type of thing.
So the purpose of that is to extend it from the mall.
Is to keep it.
It's basically
Yeah,
make
yeah,
that
yeah.
permanent.
Keep the extension
Yeah.
from the mall out to Marketplace in perpetuity.
Correct, yes,
Okay.
correct.
But it doesn't stop without this. It still will go to the mall. They still have funding for that piece.
Would retract to the mall, to
So
the
it
what they
retract
have.
to the
Yes.
mall.
Yes.
Okay.
As far as I know, I have not heard any discussion about taking it from the mall, but this is solely for the extension.
The extension.
Correct.
And there isn't any, I know early on we talked about it in our previous meetings, there isn't any stops along Saginaw with this plan, right? This is, right now the stop is on Marketplace, there's no impact.
No, they've got
Stops on
Yeah, they've
Saginaw.
got many stops on
Yeah.
Saginaw,
But
new stops.
within the work that we're commencing in 2028.
Oh, like here?
Yeah.
No, I
From
think
here.
they're all that, they're
It go-
on the other
it-
side.
Comes up Marketplace.
Yeah, it kind of turns
So
around
there's
the
no
marketplace
impact
and
to
goes
the
back.
plan development work that
Correct.
that would
Sorry,
commencing.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Any other questions, discussions? So the next meeting is scheduled for September 8th at 4 p.m. Is that? Please check your schedules, I guess.
Yeah, just let me know if you have a conflict.
Any other comments? There's no closed session today. So hearing no other comments, we will adjourn at 5:21.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah, appreciate it.